Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. So before I start today's video, I want to give a big shout out to Luke Stacey. Thank you very much for providing these really awesome pictures of your Imperial Guard force at work. I especially like the picture of the Chimera running down a couple of scumbag Tau, which will be coming up shortly. Yeah, these are really cool pictures. I really like your mix of paint schemes you've got going on. I still think I really like that Chimera picture, the one that's up now, just because I really like the old style Chimera to a bit more, a bit flatter, a bit lower down to the ground. I think that's really cool, a bit more realistic. But it made me think it's kind of interesting because with the old Lehman Russ turret, that was big and boxy, and they made it look more realistic with the new Lehman Russ kit. And then with the Chimera, they went the other way. It was low, sleek, and then they went big and boxy with the new Chimera turret. So just interesting. Really like what I assume is a Vendetta there with the 6 lads kind of strapped to the front. But yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's crack on with the video. So today, guys, I thought it'd be good to do a sort of general know thy foe video. I've done a few of these whenever I've encountered a new army, and the one that I want to do today is Custodes. Now, I don't know how you pronounce this. Some people say Custodes, some people say Custodes, and some people say Custodes. Okay, so I'll try. I'm going to go with Custodes. That to me sounds the best, but if that's wrong, then I apologise. I might mix up a little bit throughout the video. Anyway, so for the first time in a competitive setting, I faced a Custodes list a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting. Because, to be absolutely honest, it wasn't really a full-on Custodes list, but the guy that I played, I know him from my local club, and he is very competitive, and this is basically the best Custodes list you can take. That's what he has distilled it down to, and he's distilled, ever since Custodes came out, he's been distilling it. So I trust him when, when I see it and I can say this is probably the best Custodes list you can do. And so I won't be covering all the units here because there are some he just flat out won't use. But essentially, guys, what makes a really good Custodes list is the bikes. Okay. Now, obviously, when they first came out, everyone was raving about the shield captains on bike, and they're still really good. But now that you're sort of only limited to 3 of them, the bigger focus is the regular Custodes on bike. Okay. Now these guys, the guys that are on foot, they're okay, and the Terminators, they're okay, but they're not that point efficient. So if you're facing a Custodes list, a pure Custodes list, and they're using things like foot-slogging Custodes, then you know they're not super competitive, and you'll probably be okay. I'm not really going to be talking about those units because this is from a competitive standpoint, and this channel I try to keep at least slightly focused on competitive. Yes, sometimes the battle reports aren't super mega competitive, but that's just because I want them still to be fun to watch. Okay, so basically, if you're facing Custodes in a tournament, then you will probably be more than likely facing bike spam. Now, those bikes are really good. They've got 4 wounds each, 2+ save, 4 up invuln. Each one has a hurricane bolter, which is really good. Really means that they have each guy at close range putting out 12 shots, which is basically the same as a small tactical squad, if not more. And in close combat, they have I think I believe on the charge it's I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest, because he was using some funky stratagems where every time when they fought, every model that the unit had lost, they'd get an extra attack. But I believe they've got 5 attacks on the charge, and with the spear they can they hit on 2s, and with the spear they can reroll wounds when they charge. And the spear itself is AP -3, their strength 6 in total with it, and it's damage D3 per poke. And obviously if you've got a shield captain there, then you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on whatever, rerolling all wounds. AP -3, D3 damage. So they're really good. But the thing is, they've also got the fly keyword. So you can't really tie them up because they'll just fly away. And they're happy to tie you up for a turn and do loads of damage to you. And then if things get a little bit hot, they'll just fly away. But they'll still be able to shoot you because they have the fly keyword because they're all on jet bikes. So these things are really maneuverable. They've got 14-inch movement. They're really tough. They've got a great save, a great in-run save, and they hit like an absolute ton of bricks. And there's not really a disadvantage to them. And they're not that expensive. Okay, they're not that expensive considering how many wounds you've got. Okay. Me and my opponent, when I was facing him, he had a big squad of 7, 2 smaller squads of 3, and a shield captain. So he basically had 14 of these bikes. Now, that is where the main meat and potatoes of the list is. That's where the main damage is, and that's where if you're facing Custodes, that's who's going to be doing the most damage to you. The guys on foot, they ain't going to be doing that much to you. They're going to take several turns to get to you anyway. Okay? And yeah, the Terminators might be able to deep strike down, but they're just not overall as good as the bikes. Because the thing is, this is what is interesting. Custodes, when you look at a normal Marine, he's got a 3+ save, and the advantage of taking a Terminator is a 2+ save. The extra wound is okay, but it's relatively negligible just because plasma is damage 2. So it doesn't really make a difference. What you're paying for when you're getting a Terminator is that 2+ save and that 5+ invuln. But when you're playing Custodes, you've already got a 2+ save. So what are you really paying for that Terminator? There is some advantages, I'm not denying that, but really you're not getting a bigger transitional advantage as you are if you're playing regular Marines going from tacticals to Terminators. So that's why I think the bikes are so good, because they're basically like jet biking Terminators, which have more attacks, more wounds, higher toughness. What's not to like about that? Now, the next part of the list is really important. You have the standard bearer. I think it's the Vexilla. You've got a shield captain or 2 as well. And my opponent's only using 1, but you could take 2 shield captains if you wanted to. And the whole point of those shield captains is, yeah, they're quite good in combat, but it's just to give everyone reroll once to hit, so that you're basically rerolling all hits, all wounds, all the time. You've then got to be able to... The thing with Custodes is they're good, but they're not invincible. When I had 1 turn to shoot at them with my full firepower, I fired 3 Lehman Russes into them, which were rerolling once to hit, rerolling all wounds, and I was able to kill 4 of those bikes pretty easily. And that really scared my opponent. That was only 3 tanks. I had another Lehman Russ, I had 6 Chimeras, they were off doing other stuff. My point is that my opponent was really shook up by this. And the thing that really kept him alive was the fact that he had the Vexilla that gives him -1 to hit to all units within 6 inches. So that's the key part that Custodes have. They don't really care about the banner bearer after they've got in amongst you. Once in amongst you, they're tying you up, they're killing you, they're doing damage. They don't really care. But they have to be able to A, survive if they don't get a turn 1, and B, survive when they get, when they move forward on the enemy on their turn 1. So they will have the -1 to hit Vexilla. Now the thing is with Custodes is there's very few of them, and they don't really have a lot of command points, but they get around this very quickly because they don't soup like they used to, but they still soup, because what they do is they just take a cheap, I believe it's 180 point Imperial Guard detachment, take 3 infantry squads and 2 company commanders, and they just sit those in the backfield holding objectives, and that gives them an extra. They take a battalion, so that gives them an extra 5 command points. And you will not see, any competitive Custodes army will not leave home without that 180 points. Because that 180 points, it's not really a tax, you're just paying it to get +5 command points. And that's really, 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 really good. Now the final part of the list that I faced, which I think was really good, and that I think is actually more integral than first appears, is the Blood Angel Supreme Command Detachment. Now my opponent, again, he has distilled this list, and he said this is the best complement he could find, because he had the Custodes to the damage, and he had the Guardsmen to hold objectives, but he needed A, some psychic powers, and B, some disruption, some distraction kind of effects. And the way he did this is he took a Supreme Command detachment of Blood Angels. He took Mephiston, who's a really potent Psyker, and he took 2 Blood Angel captains with Jump Pack and Thunderhammer. Now, one of those just jumped alongside his Custodes, and the general idea was he just he's taking him just for a Thunderhammer. It's, you know, flat 3 damage. It's 4 attacks. You can do, the reason he takes Blood Angels over regular Marines is because of the stratagems. He can do things like the 3d6 charge one. He can do things like redeploying the captain all the way over the board upon Wings of Fire. He can give them extra attacks. He can use psychic powers on them to give them quickening and give them even more attacks. So that's why he took those ones, because those shield captains are really easy to buff up to ridiculous amount of attacks. It's very easy to get 7 attacks on one of those regular Blood Angel captains with a Thunderhammer, and they're really, really powerful. So, and obviously Mephiston, the big disadvantage of Custodes, they don't really have any psychic powers. Well, Mephiston, obviously, he brings a lot to the table. He's a real beast of a Psyker. And so overall, what you've got with that list is the biggest, a lot of people say, and I've seen this before, the biggest thing with Custodes is you have to be really good at CP management. Well, you don't really. Because you take the Blood Angels, you take the Veritas Vitae, so you get command points back on a 5+. And there's another relic that they get, which means they can steal your command points on a 5+. Oh, you take the Veritas Vitae just to get your own command points back on a 5+. You take the Imperial Guard relic so that you can steal your opponent's command points on a 5+. So you're stealing loads of command points. And then you've got 10 to start with, because you've got 3 base, 5 for the battalion, 1 for the Custodes Elite Detachment, and 1 for the Supreme Command Detachment. So you've got 10 command points with lots of farming. You get round Custodes' potentially biggest weakness, which is lack of command points. My opponent never struggled. Now, I would say this list is possibly the best Custodes list you'll face. It has punch, it has distraction, it has command points, and it has it even has bodies. It's technically, at the end of the day, guys, it's still got 30 guardsmen, which that's still 30 wounds your opponent's got to chew through. And if they're mobbing a key objective like a relic or something, that can be difficult, especially if you've got shield captains coming at you and Custode bikes coming at you. So yeah, it's a really, really powerful list, guys. It's definitely something to watch out for. Definitely, this is more of a, I don't know what I'd call this. I just call it the Custode soup list. It is really good, and it's definitely a Know Thy Foe video. How can you beat this thing? You just have to be really, really good at screening. Okay, you just have to make sure that those Custodes bikes aren't going to shut down your firepower. Now, the key to this is you've just remember Custode bikes can fly, okay, but they still have to stay 1 inch away. They can fly, and if you leave a gap, they will jump over it. And you might say, but they have to stay 1 inch away. And I can say, well, no, not when they're charging. They can, if they get a long enough charge distance, they will jump over and engage all your vehicles. So you have to be really, really good at bubble wrap. Okay, you just have to surround your heavy hitters, and you can't leave a gap. Okay, you just can't. Now you don't. The second thing is, if that's not really a possibility, is you don't want to castle up against Custodes, okay? Because they will just hem you in and just smash you. You want to have enough infantry and enough force so you can form, effectively, 3 fighting groups. Fighting group tactics work absolutely amazingly against them, for what I can see. Because they have a relative few amount of numbers, so they'll only be able to wipe out 1 fighting group at a time. But that's still going to take them a few turns to wipe out a full fighting group. And if they don't wipe it out, you've still got effective units over there. And so you just, essentially, if you're taking a fighting group and it's got something like, you know, a Lehman Russ and maybe a Basilisk surrounded by 40 or 50 infantry, if you can, that is a perfect fighting group against Custodes. Okay, that's really, really powerful. It's got plenty of DACA, plenty of screening. And, well, I would almost say, actually, what you'd want is 2 Lehman Russes per fighting group, and then a load of bare-bones, cheap guardsmen. Okay? and you want to be able to keep them in line and blah blah blah. And what you want to do is you want to be able to move around the map, because you don't want the Custodes to be able to capping all the objectives and everything. You still want to be able to move around the map, but the key thing is you're going to want to move at a pace where you can maintain your bubble wrap. And remember, after the Custodes are going to be coming for you. You're going to have 1 to 2 turns of full firepower on them, and then you're going to have to really select your targets. Okay. And with Custodes, it's better. It's best to really target priority. Big mistake I made when I was facing them is I was just shooting. I wasn't concentrating my firepower. Okay, you really want to just fully destroy a unit. Okay, because one Custodes biker zipping around, it's like having a enemy hero running around. So you have to absolutely destroy one unit before moving on to the next. Because every unit that you fully wipe out is a huge blow. Huge blow. Anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this list. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it's been useful and it's been able to prepare you for if you do face a competitive Custodes list. Tell me what you think. Tell me your Battlefield experience. And as always, hopefully we can use these videos to spread knowledge and have almost as like an archive of how to beat certain lists and certain armies. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time.